Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, halfway through the week. For Hashem, we're learning Perek of chapter 4 of Mishnah's Terumos. Today's shir is sponsored Lila Nishmas Aaron Nachman ben Simcha Kohen, Yeshua Mordechai B'Shepsel Baruch Asar B'Shmuel Leib, Binah Moshe ben Yosef, and the Neshamas all have an aliyah. Today, we're going to jump right into the Perek because it is a long Perek today. Let's see, here we go. Mishnah Aleph. Amafrish mixas truma umaisris. We're talking this Mishnah. We're talking about a case where someone does not separate the full amount of truma or meiser at one time, but only separates part of it, intending to separate the rest later. Then the separated portion remove the tevel status of part of the pile, but the other part remains tevel as before. So therefore, the pile now is a mixture of tevel and non-tevel. So we're going to talk about like what's going on over here. So if someone separates some of the required truma of meiser to truma or meiser from a pile, so that the pile is now part non-tevel and part tevel, motzi mimenu truma chalav. He can remove the rest of the truma or meiser needed for that pile from the pile itself, because it may be assumed that the new portion is being taken from the tevel part of the pile. But he cannot remove truma or meiser from the remainder of that pile for somewhere else for a different pile of tevel. You have to stick to the same pile. The next, Meir argues and he says he can af motzi hu the makom acher truma or meiser. He can even remove truma or meiser from the pile for somewhere else. For even in that case, this new portion may be viewed as coming from the tevel part of the pile, and it's not a problem, according to Meir. Mishnah Beis. Misha Hayu Perosov Megura, regarding one whose tevel produce was in the storeroom. Venasan sell the Ben Levi was sell the ani, and he gave a saw of it to a Levi for meiser, and a saw of it to a poor person for the as meiser ani, for the for the sake of the 8 saw that he's going to a person he's going to select later. But in the meantime, the Levi and the poor person went away, and we do not know what became of the portions that they received. So he separated for them. 1 second. Right, so he gave a portion to Levi and a portion to a poor person, but he did not intend that these portions to be Meiser Rishon and Meiser Ani right away, because he has not yet decided which 8 saw of his tevel he's separating them for. But he's giving them something that like an advance payment. So that's a problem. So mafrish ad shmona son. So the law is in this case that he may separate up to 8 saw from the produce in the storeroom and eat them, because it may be assumed that the 2 saw that he gave away still exist. This is according to Rabbi Meir. Chamim say, he may separate and eat produce from the storeroom only in proportion to the amount of the gifts that are known to still exist. Meaning that if only half of the Ma'aser Rishon and half of the Ma'aser Ani are known to be in existence, then he can remove only 4 saw from the storeroom and eat them without any issue. Mishnah Gimel, Shir Truma. So this is the measure of Truma. We was talking about like already three and a half program about what Truma is, but we never defined the actual measurement. So this is the actual measurement of Truma that's you separate. Ayin Yafa Echem One. The generous portion is 1/40th of the crop. which is what, like, um, we'll see. And then, and then, um, Bishamai Omrim, the Bishamai says, Mishloshim, the generous portion is 1/30th of the crop. So then it goes back to the original Tana, the Beinon is Michamishim. The medium portion is one part in 50, 1/50th. So 1/50th of the crop is 2%. Because 1/100th is 1%, and 1/50th is 2%. So a, a 30th and a 40th. So 40th would be a little bit more, maybe 2.5% or 3%. I didn't do the actual math. Oh yeah, so he says that the Benonis that the medium portion is 1/50th, the raw Mishishim, and the miserly portion is one part in 60, 1/60th. You want to be a real cheapskate, you give 1/60th. Taram v'ala biyado echamishishim. So if someone separated truma and 1/60th came up in his hand instead of the usual portion of 1/40th or 1/50th, truma, it's truma. And he doesn't need to separate any more truma. Therefore, if you went back and added to the truma he already separated, the additional amount is not considered truma. Rather, it is tevel that is subject to meiser as it was before. If, however, one part in 1/61st instead of 1/60th, it's 1/61st. One part out of one part in 61 came up. I'm not trying to say that in the, you know, whatever. It's one instead of 1/60th, it's 1/61st, which is less than any of the three other portions. So if in his hand it came up 1/61st, then it is truma. But he must go back and separate more until it reaches his usual amount of truma. So if you gave 1/60th, it's good. It doesn't need to be repeated. If it's less than 1/60th, then he has to add more until he gets to his normal amount. The mida, the mishkol, of a minyan, and this additional truma need not be estimated, but may be measured precisely by volume, by weight, or by count, as we said before, which was not the way truma is normally calculated. Moving right along, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Af Shalom and Mukaf. Yehuda says that the additional portion of truma can be separated even from produce that's not near the pile. With that extra bit that you have to give, you have some leniencies with it, as opposed to the rest of the stuff that you get to truma. Mishnah Daled, Omer l'shlucho. Someone says to his agent, say a trum, go out and separate truma from my crop. Tariam b'daito shababais. So the agent should separate truma according to the owner's character, meaning that he should separate 1/40th of the crop for a generous person, or 1/60th for a miserly person, or 1/50th for an average person. He has to know the style of his employer. If he does not know the owner's character, then he separates according to the medium portion, which is echamish, which is 1/50th. Pachas asara. So if he mistakenly subtracted 10 from the 50 parts, out of which the owner usually separates one part of truma, meaning that he separates one part of 40, right? The guy usually gives 1/50th, but he but the agent separated 1/40th. Oh, Hosi Masara, or he mistakenly added 10 to the 50 part, out of which which the owner usually separates one part of Truma, meaning that he separated 1/60th. Terumos Truma. So even though the agent made a mistake, his Truma is a valid Truma since he made his best judgment of the owner's character and separated an amount that was befitting the judgment. He did what he was asked to do, and the Truma designation is good. In the Skavin, the Hosif, Afilo Achas. However, if he knew that the owner usually separates one part in 50, and he intentionally added even one to the number of parts which the owner usually separates it, Ein Terumos Truma, and his Truma is not valid Truma because he did not carry out the owner's instructions. Rather, he um, so really he did what he wanted, and that's not good. Mishnah Hey, Hamabe b'Trumas, if one wants to separate more Truma than necessary from his pile of produce, of course he wants to give more than a fourth. He wants to give a 30th or 20th or 10th, whatever. Eliezer says, Echa min you can designate a maximum of one part in 10 as Truma, Ketrumas Meiser. Just like we find that that the Trumas Meiser, that the Truma that he the Truma that the Levi gives from his Meiser is 1/10. So he could also do 1/10. Yasimikan, if he does it in more than this amount, more than 1/10, then Yasena Trumas Meiser Makamachet. You should make the extra part Trumas Meiser for produce that's in another place and give the entire portion they separated to a Kohen. Rabbi Shmuel says, Mechsa Chulin, Mechsa Truma, one can separate Truma up to the point where the pile is half Chulin and half Truma. You mean the maximum is half. And finally, Rabbi Tar from Rabbi Kiva Omen, Rabbi Kiva say, Achi Shayir Sham Chulin, one can designate as much Truma as he wishes, provided that he leaves some Chulin there in the pile. Going on to Mishnah Vav. Okay, so we discussed in Perek Aleph that Truma must be separated by estimation. But Meiser, on the other hand, and Trumas Meiser need to be separated with exact measurements. Therefore, before separating Meiser, he should know exactly how much produce he has, and so he can designate precisely 1/10 as Meiser. B'shloisha prakim misharim es hakalkala. 3 stages during the summer, one assesses how many fruits the basket can hold. The koros, at the time of the early fruits, when they are at the largest, and the basket holds the smallest number. B'sayafos, and at the time of the late fruits, when they are at their smallest, and the basket holds a larger number. And at the midsummer, when they are medium size and the basket holds the medium number. Meaning that he measures the basket at the beginning of the season and then sees it holds, let's say, 100 fruits. From then until midsummer, you can assume that each basketful is 100 fruits. He doesn't need to measure every single basket. And therefore, he separates from each basket 10 fruits as meiser. At the middle of the summer, he measures the basket again, and he sees that it holds 110 pieces. So from that point until the end of the harvest, he separates 11 fruits as meiser. And then towards the end of the harvest, to measure again, he sees that the fruit can hold the basket can hold 150 fruits. Then from that point until the end of the harvest, he separates 15 fruits from every basket is mice. That's the parenthetic. Anyways, Hamona Meshubach, continuing Mishnah Vav, Hamona Meshubach, one who counts his fruits, is more praiseworthy than one who uses estimation. Moded Meshubach Mimenu, one who measures the volume is more praiseworthy than he, because measuring is a more exact method of calculating than counting itself. And one who weighs his fruit is more praiseworthy than the three of them, because weighing is the most exact measure of all, because you actually get the accurate weight. Okay, now we're going to talk about from the rest of Mishnah Dalid and going into Mishnah Hey. Sorry, the end of Perek Dalid and going into Perek Hey, we're going to be talking about cases where Truma became mixed with Chulin. So let's go. Rabbi Lezer Omer, this is Mishnah Zayin. Rabbi Lezer Omer says Truma Ola Be'echa B'meya. That Truma that became mixed into Chulin is nullified if there's one part Truma to 101 parts of Chulin. Meaning that in order to nullify the Truma, there has to be 100 sa of Chulin before the one sa of Truma falls in. Rabbi Yeshua has a more lenient approach. He says, B'me'ev od, that the Truma is nullified even if there is one part Truma to a total of 100 parts and somewhat more. So not the 101 from Elazar, it's 100 point something. This somewhat more, this little tiny piece has no minimum amount. Therefore, if one sa the truma fell to slightly more than 99 sa chulin, then the truma is nullified. Rabbi Yossi ben Meshulam says he agrees with the Yeshua, kav the me'asad, that the somewhat more mentioned is a kav per 100 sa of produce. Shtus the meduma, thus the somewhat more is 1/6 of the amount of truma that forbids this mixture. Therefore, if one sa of truma fell into 99 sa of chulin, the mixture is usher. It must be at least 99 sa plus 1/6 of the amount that fell of chulin for the mixture to be permitted. Very interesting. We're moving along. Mishnah Ches. Yeshua says, Te'enim shechuros malos es halevanos. If white figs became mixed into a mixture of white and black chulin figs, then the black chulin figs joined the white chulin figs to nullify the white truma figs. Levanos malos es shechuros. And in the case where black figs of truma became mixed into a mixture of white and black chulin figs, then the white ones joined the black chulin figs to nullify the black truma figs. They join up together. So, Yigule devela. What's some examples of this? Yigule devela. If there's a mixture of small and large round fig cakes that are chulin, and a cake of truma became mixed in, Hagadola malin es hakatanim. Then the large chulin cakes join the small ones to nullify the small truma cakes. Hakatanim malin es hagadolim. And the small chulin cakes join the large ones to nullify the large truma cakes. Hayagul malin es hamalabin. Well, ha'igulim malin es ha'malbinim. That similarly, if there's a mixture of round and rectangular fig cakes of chulin, and the cake of truma became mixed in, the round fig cakes joined the rectangular cakes to nullify the rectangular truma cakes. In the case where rectangular cakes of truma got mixed in. The hamalbinin malin es ha'igulin, and rectangular fig cakes, they joined the round ones to nullify the round truma cakes. Um, in all these cases, even though the truma is clearly different in some way from some of the chulin to which it fell, all the chulin is nevertheless counted in order to nullify it. Rabbi Lezer Oser, but Rabbi Lezer disagrees with Rabbi Yeshua, and he forbids all the chulin figs that are the same type as the truma. For example, if a white fig truma became mixed into a mixture of 50 white and 50 black figs of chulin, all the white figs are forbidden to a non-Kohen. And now, moreover, if the color of the fig truma that became mixed up is not known, then all the figs are forbidden. Rabbi Akiva says, "Biyadua ma nafla." When it is known what type of truma fell into the chulin, ein mala zu azu. That each type of chulin does not nullify truma figs of the other type, and all the figs that are the same type as the fig of truma are forbidden. When it is not known what type of truma item fell in, malas zu azu, then each type nullifies truma figs. The other type, all the figs are permitted. Mishnah test. Ketzad. So how so? Chamishin te'ena shechuros v'chamishin levanos. Taking as an example a mixture consisting of 50 black and 50 white figs of chulin. Now for shechura, if a black truma fig fell into the mixture, shechuros asuros levanos utaros. All the black figs are forbidden, and all the white ones are permitted. Now for levana, if a white fig of truma fell into the mixture, levanos asuros shechuros utaros. All the white ones are forbidden, and all the black ones are permitted. But if it is not known what color fig fell in, then each type nullifies the truma fig of the other type, and they are all permitted. Ubazu, in this case, where the truma is a different color, size, or shape than some of the chulin, then Rabbi Lezer rules stringently, while Rabbi Yehuda rules leniently. However, in some cases, which will be detailed in the next Mishnah, Rabbi Lezer rules leniently and Rabbi Yeshua rules stringently. Mishnah Yud. Ubazu, Rabbi Lezer, Mekel, Rabbi Yeshua Machmir. However, in this following case, the reverse is true, that Rabbi Lezer rules leniently and Rabbi Yeshua rules stringently. Bidores litra kitsios alpi hakad. That that in the case of one who presses a litra of dried truma figs into the mouth of a jug that contains dried chulin figs, a litra is about 12.5 ounces. The yodea ezuhi, and he does not know in the mouth of which jug of chulin figs he pressed them. Rabbi Lezer says, Rowan osan ki'ilu heim prudos, that even though the truma figs are definitely in the mouth of one of the jugs, we view the truma figs as if they are separated and spread throughout the jug. Tachtonos malos es elyonos, and thus the lower figs in the jug nullify the litra of truma that is among the upper figs. Maybe Yeshua says, Lo sale adshi yiyu sham meir kadim, that the truma is not nullified unless there are 100 more jugs, so that the upper figs in all those jugs can by themselves nullify the truma. Therefore, okay. Anyways, Mr. Yud Aleph. Here's another case that which the dispute between Eliezer and Yeshua applies. Saw truma shenafla alpi magura. If a saw of truma fell on top of chulin grain at the opening of a storeroom, ukifah, and one skimmed off the top layer of the grain. Eliezer says, "Im yesh b'kafoy meya saw." If the skim layer, along with the rest of the grain in the storeroom, contains 100 saw of chulin, aside from the saw of truma, which totals 101 saw, ta'ale be'echav umeya. Then the truma is nullified is in 101 total saw. Rabbi Yeshua says, lo sala is not nullified since the bottom of the pile, which is definitely chulin, is not included in the doubt. So truma shenafa alpi megura. In this case, where a saw of truma fell on top of chulin grain at the opening of a storeroom, yakpiena wants to skim off enough of the top layer of the grain so that all the truma has definitely been removed, and the rest of the grain is mutter because it is definitely all chulin. The aim came, but if so, that removing some of the grain can permit the rest of it. Lama amr truma ola be'echad umeya. Then in which case did the Chachamim say that in order to nullify truma that became mixed in the grain in the storeroom, that there must be one part truma and 101 total parts? Why not just skim off all the truma and the rest will be permitted? If Yadua im Lulasain, the Chachamim required 101 total parts, where it's not known whether the truma and chulin became mixed together after the truma fell on top of the pile. Ein the ayin nafla. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, ayin nafla, or where is not known where in the pile the truma fell to begin with. Doesn't mean it fallen anywhere in the pile. You cannot skim off the place where it fell. Okay, Mishnah Yud Beis. Almost done. We have Yud Beis and Yud Gimel to go. Shtei kupos and shtei maguros. If there were two boxes or two storerooms, with each box or storeroom containing 50 sa of chulin, shenaf la sa truma l'soch achas mehen, and a saw of truma fell into one of them. The aim yadua the ezim nafla, and is not known into which one of them it fell. Mala zu, and the law is they nullify each other, meaning that the contents of the boxes or storerooms are considered as if they are joined together to nullify the truma. Rabbi Shimon says, "Afilu hein b'shtei ayaros." Even if the two boxes or storerooms are in different cities, malazu, they can nullify each other. And finally, Mishnah Gimel, Amar Rabbi Yossi says, "Ma'isabal the Rabbi Akiva b'chamishim agudos shel yarek." That an incident came before Rabbi Akiva involving 50 bundles of chulin vegetables. Into which another similar bundle half of which was truma that fell. I said before him, it is nullified. I the reason is not because truma can be nullified in a total of 51 total parts. Rather, we include only the actual truma in the calculation. Therefore, since only half of the bundle that fell in was truma, and there were 102 half bundles, it is nullified. Thank you for joining us. We will continue tomorrow with Perek. Have a wonderful day.